In the Speaker's Gallery of the following members of Parliament and staff from the European Parliamentary Forum, EPF, and for sexual reproductive rights. And on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, the First Deputy Speaker did warmly welcome the guests to the Assembly.
Madam First Deputy Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from KCM Konkola Secondary Trust School in Chilawombwe district, and she also recognized the presence in the public gallery of students from Cavendish University in Lusaka district. And so, Madam First Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly, warmly welcome the visitors to the National Assembly.
The other announcement that was rendered on the floor of the House came on where the First Deputy Speaker reminded the House that on Wednesday, 8th April 2026, during the presentation of government bills, the Green Economy and Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026, was referred to the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism. She stated that the Committee on Energy, Water Development and Tourism had been brought to her attention that the said committee had other work to attend to. In that regard, the National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026 has been referred to the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements for consideration.
Madam First Deputy Speaker further stated that the committee was required to submit its report to the House in due course and encouraged honourable members who wish to make submissions on the bill to do so within the programme of the committee.
The House did consider three matters without notice, and the following. The first one came from Mr. Brighton Undwe, who is a Chawama Member of Parliament, and its subject was on the alleged recruitment of 4,000 police officers without adherence to the required procedures and Treasury Authority. And the First Deputy Speaker did direct the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to issue a ministerial statement on Thursday, 16th April 2026.
The other urgent matter without notice did come from Mr. Mtachalo on the alleged erratic supply of water and reagents at the University Teaching Hospital in Lusaka. And this particular urgent matter, the notice was inadmissible.
The other matter which was inadmissible came from Babala Member of Parliament, and this is Mr. Joseph Monsanje, and this one was on the alleged collapse of bridge in Manachao village in Babala Parliamentary constituency.
After those urgent matters were noticed, the House did consider questions for oral answer numbers 295 to 302, understanding order number 80.
Two reports were considered yesterday, and the first one came from the Committee on National Security and Foreign Affairs, and this one was on the operations and management of police permanent security checkpoints and mounted patrols for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 10th April 2026. And the mover of this motion was Brigadier General Sitwala, MP for Sioma Central, and it was seconded by Chembe, Member of Parliament, Mr. Cliff Mpunda. And the question was put, the motion was adopted.
Notice was taken at 17:01 that a quorum was not formed, so Madam First Deputy Speaker ordered the bells to be rung, the House counted, and the quorum having been formed, business resumed. And we did have another motion that was moved by Mr. Mtale. This is a report on the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements on the ratification of the Southern Africa Development Community Protocol on Employment and Labour for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 9th April 2026, and the House adjourned accordingly yesterday at 18:28 hours.
Shortly, we'll be able to see the First Deputy Speaker. That will signify the commencement of today's business. So basically, that's a business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday. Let's quickly interest you to what is expected to be considered on the floor of the House. We expect announcements. If there'll be any, we expect urgent matters without notice and question for oral answer, understanding order 80. For now, we need to cross over to the floor of the House. As you can see on your screen, that signifies as a commencement.
Honourable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Dancing of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We won freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by those who blend. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen.
Good afternoon. You're tuned in to Parliament Television. As soon as the quorum is constituted, business will commence. 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present in the House in order for business to be transacted. And we'll just run you through some of the questions for answer under Standing Order number 80 that are expected to be considered on the floor of the House. Question 303 is expected to come from Mr. Miutu of Kalabo Central. He's going to ask the Minister of Education a question in 3 parts. That's how many students were awarded loans and scholarships by the Higher Education Loans and Scholarships Board from 2022 to 2025 year by year. The B part of the question, from the number above, that's A, which 3 provinces and districts had the highest number of students awarded the loans and scholarships year by year, and whether there are any plans to decentralize the selection of beneficiaries to the district level.
And the people of Kamfinsa Parliamentary Constituency, through their representative, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, will ask the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development whether the government has any plans to construct a road from Ndeke to Chamboli through Mlengo compound in Kamfinsa Parliamentary Constituency. If so, when the plans will be implemented, what the estimated cost of the project is, and if there are no such plans, why?
Mr. Mabenga of Mulobezi constituency will ask the Minister of Green Economy and Environment what measures the government is taking to prevent illegal harvesting of timber in Mulobezi parliamentary constituency, whether the government has any plans to replant trees in the constituency. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why?
Again, Mr. Miutu will ask question 306. And this question is directed to the Minister of Agriculture. He wants to establish whether the government is aware that there is a shortage of cassava stem cuttings for planting in Kalabo district. If so, what plans the government has put in place to ensure availability of stem cuttings, especially the early maturing varieties, and if there are no such plans, why?
Ms. Tonya of Kafiwe constituency will ask the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development whether the government has any plans to upgrade Kafiwe Town Council to a municipality. If so, when the plans will be implemented and what the criteria for granting a town council municipal status are.
And Lufuanyama lawmaker Mr. Kensia Chizumo will ask the Minister of Green Economy and Environment whether the government has any plans to sell houses under the Zambia Forestry and Forest Industries Corporation, ZAFICO, in Lufuanyama district to sitting tenants. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why?
We expect Nyimba Member of Parliament, Mr. Menyani Zulu, to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development when the government will rehabilitate the Great East Road, which is in a deplorable state from the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport turnoff to Luangwa Bridge, what the estimated cost of the project is, and what the estimated time frame for the completion of the project is.
So those are the 7 questions that are supposed to be considered on the floor of the House. So once the quorum is constituted, business resumes, and members of Parliament are still getting into the chamber, and business was scheduled to commence at 14:30 hours. But due to lack of quorum on the floor of the House is unable to resume sitting.
Order, honorable members. We have a quorum now. I have two announcements to make. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from St. John's Convent School in Kitwe District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. Thank you. You may take your seat. The second announcement, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Mopani Copper Mines Secondary School from Kantanshi constituency in Mfulira district. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome the visitors in our midst. I thank you. You may take your seats. Urgent matters without notice. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to direct an urgent matter without notice to the Minister of Mines, who unfortunately is not with us this afternoon. I therefore wish to direct the matter to the Leader of Government Business, who I can't see. I therefore wish to refer the matter to the Government Whip. Madam Speaker, as you might be aware, this Parliament passed a law relating to local content. Local content, Madam Speaker, basically means giving first priority to Zambian companies in terms of opportunities for business in the mining sector. I stood where I'm standing today, Madam Speaker, a year ago, demanding that that provision is retained in the laws of Zambia. We had the 2015 Mines and Minerals Development Act, which provided for local content. And even when the new law, Madam Speaker, was enacted, I debated that that provision should be retained. And the reason is very simple, Madam Speaker. Job opportunities which Zambians can do in the mining sector should be given to Zambian companies and entities. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, there is no compliance to this particular law. And there's a huge complaint coming from all the mining companies in Zambia that despite the law demanding that local content should give opportunities to Zambians, mining companies, Madam Speaker, are not complying. What was the use of establishing the commission if it can't ensure that local content provides mining opportunities to Zambians who have registered companies? Madam Speaker, is government in order not to ensure that the law is implemented and to manage the complaints coming from the mining sector so that we don't have these entrepreneurs beginning to protest when this is an issue that government can quickly resolve? Madam Speaker, it's an urgent matter. There are meetings taking place amongst young entrepreneurs who feel that government is not protecting them in terms of mining opportunities. Madam Speaker, I refer this matter to your office and I seek your indulgence. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa, please be advised that the matters to be considered under this segment, urgent matters without notice, these are matters that are supposed to be raised within 24 hours of its occurrence. So from your explanation, Honorable Member, this is not a new matter that happened yesterday or within the last 24 hours. This is an old matter, so I would advise the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa to find another platform. Otherwise, it does not qualify under urgent matters without notice. The Honorable Member for Shuangandu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I raise my urgent matter without notice, I just want to press on record that those who are responsible for ensuring that quorum is constituted do their job. We are starting our parliament work, Madam Speaker, 15 minutes from the official time. Now this is becoming like a usual business. What kind of government do we have? Madam Speaker, let people start taking parliamentary work serious.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, this is a collective. It's supposed to be a collective effort. We haven't seen all the members on the left present.
We have been with you at least, Madam Speaker, for the past 15 minutes.
Order, Honorable Member for Shiwangandu. The whip is here. The government chief whip is here.
Yes, that's coming, Madam Speaker.
Order, Honorable Member. Order. I think I'm guiding. So what I was saying, Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, yes, we have the whips in the House, but this should be a collective effort. We want everybody to be here. Yeah. All the members of Parliament are supposed to report to the House on time. That's why they were voted for. So please, let's take this as a collective action. This is the people's house. So can we make sure, if we haven't got permission, if we are attending virtually, let's try to be there. But all what I'm saying, please, let's have all the honorable members of Parliament, both from the left and the right, to report to the House on time. It doesn't augur well when we start our proceedings a bit late. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, can you please go straight into your urgent matter?
Well guided, Madam Speaker, and just to let the government whip know that he can correct members just across here, Madam Speaker. Some of them are just nearby.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Madam Speaker.
Please go straight to your matter.
My urgent matter without notice is directed to the leader of government.
Order, Honorable Members. What is your matter, Honorable Member for Shiwangandu?
Madam Speaker, the matter is directed to the leader of government business, who is not yet in. But the matter, Madam Speaker, is a matter of national concern. Madam Speaker, there's been a public outcry regarding the manner in which the Zambia Police Service has done its recruitment in secret. I know that there is a ruling pending from yourself for the Minister of Home Affairs to come and render a statement to that effect. Bear the day, Madam Speaker, we saw the Minister of Health also conceding to the fact that the recent recruitments in the health sector were marred with corruption. And that, Madam Speaker, those young ones who are crying now, doctors and nurses, who genuinely applied to be considered for recruitment, have been left stranded. The only thing the minister did was to acknowledge that there was corruption in the processes. He is in order not to come back to this August House, Madam Speaker, to come and speak to this House and ensure that those young men and women, doctors, nurses, and other health professionals who have been left stranded can be given hope. Because this corruption now, which has now become a common phenomenon in public recruitment, Madam Speaker, is becoming unbearable. Madam Speaker, is the Honorable Leader of Government business in order to remain quiet when our youths are crying?
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, please be focused. If you are raising an agent
Madam Speaker, I'm almost concluding, but I'm being distracted by the Minister of Youth.
Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, please, can you be focused?
I seek your serious guidance, Madam Speaker. Everybody in the round will talk about report.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu. I don't see this to be an urgent matter. Can you please find another platform to bring your issue back to the House? There is also Her Honor the Vice President's question time on Friday. Bring back that matter during that segment. Because we don't really know the issues that you've raised, that the whole system, there was corruption. So the honorable member, can you bring a factual question or issue before this House so that it can be attended to, especially on Friday? I'll give you an opportunity on Friday, but let that question have evidence. The honorable member for, I'll take the lady, for Chiengi. The honorable member for Mukushi South, please be reminded that the presiding officer has got the powers to select anybody to speak on the floor of the House. So in this case, I'm considering gender. The honorable member for Chiengi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a very important matters of agents without notice. Madam Speaker, we have our people in the Zambians, when I say our people, the Zambians who reside in Kamwala. Madam Speaker, when you go to Kamwala near the prisons there, you see that there are structures that are coming up, of course, beautiful structures. Now, Madam Speaker, on behalf of those people, I am concerned that some are being forced to sell their properties to some Indians or some Asians who've been going there. It's like they've been forced to sell their properties. One gentleman even cried out last night, said, is there anyone who can help us? Because what's happening when one property is bought, they move to another property. So our people really are being displaced. And it's not out of wish that they receive that money. It's out of desperation. So this matter is directed at the Minister of Home Affairs and also Her Honor, because Zambians now are being displaced and we're seeing other foreigners owning that place, and it's a prime area. Some have been told, Madam Speaker, that the money that they got, the 3 million, it has just been wasted because they didn't plan. So I'm seeking the indulgence of you, Madam Speaker, and the executive to intervene and to help their people in Kamwala. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The honorable member for Chiengi, again, just a reminder, urgent matters without notice are supposed to be matters that happened within the last 24 hours. So the selling of those properties didn't start yesterday. I think it has been ongoing. So that matter does not qualify under urgent matters without notice. Please find another platform. We make progress. Questions for oral answer understanding order number 80. The honorable member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 303.
The honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Member of Parliament for Karabo Central, Mr. Miotu, is asking the Minister of Education, A, how many students were awarded loans and scholarships by the Higher Educational Loans and Scholarships Board from 2022 to 2025 year by year? B, from the number above, which 3 provinces and districts had the highest number of students awarded the loans and scholarships year by year, and C, whether there are any plans to decentralize the selection of beneficiaries to the district level. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that A, the total number of students supported under the Student Loan and Scholarship Scheme by the Higher Education Loans and Scholarships Board increased steadily from 2022 to 2025, both in terms of new entrants and the total number of beneficiaries on support. In 2022, a total number of 7,771 new students were awarded student loans, bringing the total number of students on loan support to 24,483. In the same year, 217 new students were awarded scholarships, bringing the total number of students on scholarship support to 1,102. In 2023, the number of new students awarded loans increased to 11,683, while the total number of students on loan support rose to 28,857. During the same year, 191 new students were awarded scholarships, bringing the total number of students on scholarship support to 1,267. In 2024, the board awarded students loans to 14,952 new entrants, resulting in a total number of 37,094 students being on loan support. In addition, 405 new students were awarded scholarships, bringing the total number of students on scholarship support to 1,476. In 2025, the number of new loan beneficiaries further increased to 16,273, with the total number of students on loan support rising to 46,532. In the same year, 278 new students were awarded scholarships, bringing the total number of students on scholarship support to 1,608. This upward trend demonstrates the government's continued commitment to expanding access to higher education by progressively increasing the number of students benefiting from both student loans and scholarship support. B, in each of the years, that is 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025, the provinces that consistently recorded the highest number of beneficiaries under the Student Loan and Scholarship Scheme were Copper Belt Province, Lusaka Province, and Southern Province, largely due to higher population concentration, greater numbers of school leavers, and increased applications from these provinces. At the district level, the highest numbers of beneficiaries were consistently recorded in Lusaka District, Kitwe District, and Ndola District, which similarly account for a significant proportion of applicants to public universities and other higher learning institutions. Madam Speaker, you may wish to note that the Student Loan and Scholarship Scheme is implemented on a national and equitable basis. During the period under review, all the 116 districts of the Republic were represented under the scheme, with each district having a minimum of 4 students supported. This demonstrates the government's commitment to ensuring fair access to higher education opportunities across all provinces and districts of the country, in line with the principles of inclusiveness and balanced national development. C, the Higher Education Loans and Scholarships Board is currently considering the decentralization of the selection of beneficiaries to the district level. However, this will not be implemented before 2027, as the proposed reform is dependent on the outcome of a comprehensive evaluation of the current provincial-based eligibility framework. The evaluation will assess the effectiveness, equity, transparency, and administrative capacity of the current system. The findings will guide the decision on whether to decentralize the process and, if approved, will inform the development of an implementation plan for a district-level selection model. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that comprehensive response. However, Honorable Minister, the indications in the response show that about 3 provinces are leading in the selected number of students. Whilst I appreciate that these provinces, they bear high numbers of applicants and the population density, we have to bear in mind that we have 10 provinces, and these provinces, they are all equal in status of citizenship. So the decentralization right now seems to be favoring the more urban provinces and not attending much, or those 7, including the rural provinces, are not being cared for much from the response that you have given. Now, Honorable Minister, wouldn't it be possible that slots, shares be floated to these provinces so that let each province fail to fill up those slots? Wouldn't have that been a prudent way of sharing these bursaries and scholarships? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I agree indeed it would be a prudent way, but as I explained, we are gradually trying to decentralize the process itself. So I agree with him that it would be prudent to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. While you agree with the suggestion of floating those slots to the provinces, in your response, you have also indicated that the board is considering to decentralize, but not later than 2027. Now, there's a district level and this provincial level, which both of these, they have to focus on the rural-based students who don't seem to get the priorities due to the nature of locations. Why can't the government consider the fact that the rural-based students face more challenges in terms of information sharing? Why should it be that until maybe 2027, why can't it be so immediate that you consider the rural provinces and districts so that they also benefit like these other students who are based in urban provinces and districts? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, in terms of provinces, we have offices, health offices in Kitwe, Kabwe, and Lusaka districts. In the process to be decentralized is Solwezi, Choma, and Mongo districts. So I think we are coming there.
The Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, around 2019, the higher Education Loans Board transitioned to a loan-based scheme from a grant-aided. This allowed a number of institutions to come on board. Despite that, our rural population, more especially those in Mchinga province, northern, northwestern, western, and other provinces, our youths do not largely benefit from this incentive. Would the government consider, Honorable Minister, funding this institution to have extra funds so that it can largely also cater for the rural population? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, actually, government has been funding this health heavily for that matter. When we just came into office in 2021, there were less than 23,000 students who were on loan scheme. 23. Now today there are more than 46,000 within 4.5 years. 46,000. So from 23 to 46,000, that's a great leap. So almost half of what we found is what now within 4 years it has jumped up to that. So government is funding heavily for that matter.
The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
I'm grateful, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Honorable Minister, thank you for the responses that you've given. My question would have been centered on the number of beneficiaries, especially with persons with disability, but it will be a new question to you. I just wanted to find out if you could consider giving out statistics of persons with disabilities who have benefited from the loan scheme so that the people outside there can actually appreciate what government is doing. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, I don't have the statistic as of now for that.
Okay. The Honorable Member for Chifubu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, information gap and academic performance are factors that are critical in selecting how scholarships are awarded. How have these two factors influenced the distribution of the scholarship across the country, pertaining to the years you have mentioned of how the scholarships were distributed? Information gap and academic performance per province and district, how have they affected or influenced the distribution of the scholarships across the provinces and districts? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
I'm not quite sure which information gap, because we advertise in the newspapers as to when the people have to apply for the SAM.
The Honorable Member from Babala.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for that very important information you have shared. HEOSB remains a very critical institution that has helped many of us, and it continues to do an excellent job. Speaking, Honorable Minister, for our rural children, is HEOSB able to do a manual publication of the calendar for loans and scholarship applications, which can be shared to the constituency officers so that it's stuck on our notice boards for our rural children to be able to read, who may not have access to internet and smartphones. As the current situation is that they have to access through internet or smartphones. Are they able to publish that calendar, which can be actually stuck at constituency officers' notice boards? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, the problem is that these public universities, their calendars are different. The calendars are different unless we did the calendar for each public university. Yes, it's possible. Thank you.
The last member, the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I am grateful once again for the opportunity to direct a follow-up question.
Order, Honorable Members.
Direct a follow-up question to the Minister of Education. Madam Speaker, I am a beneficiary of these student loans that we are discussing. On my salary, every month, a deduction is made towards repayment for the money that government spent to provide an education to me. And based on that background, I want to find out, Honorable Ministers, we are discussing more beneficiaries and getting more people from the rural part of Zambia to access these opportunities, deal with the information gap, ensure that people are aware that there are these loans. I would want to find out from you, Minister, how are you doing as a ministry to ensure that the recoveries, the people that have been given the opportunity to be educated through the loan scheme, what are you doing to ensure that all those students, the many students that are out there from 2004, when bursaries were converted to a student loan, what are you doing to ensure that immediately someone starts work, they are quickly put on the recovery system? Because some of us, it took almost 7 years before we could start getting the recoveries done. I hope, Minister, you understand the question. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Yeah, indeed, Madam Speaker, there's something which is being done now. You are actually right, because the percentage of those who are getting back the loans that they got is it's very minimal. If everybody really was paying, we don't think that we would have even required government subvention. So there's something that HSB are working on, only that we haven't finished on it. But I think that will help us a lot. So nowadays what we are doing, immediately somebody graduates, we start tracing them. But that backlog which remained is the most difficult one, and people are not coming up front. What we did was actually recently, we said we'll cut the 20% up to, was it November last year? And many people came on board. So certain things are being done in order for us to get more money to cater for everybody in the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next question, the Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, the question number 304.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa asked the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development a question in 4 parts. In Part A, whether the government has any plans to construct a road from Deke to Chamboli through Mulenga compound in Kamfinsa parliamentary constituency. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. In C, what is the expected cost of the project? And D, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, in response to the question raised by the Honourable Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, I wish to inform the August House as follows. A, the government has plans to construct a road from Deke to Chamboli through Mulenga compound in Kamfinsa parliamentary constituency. However, in the immediate phase, where the ministry is working on the construction of 16.25-kilometer urban roads, the road is not among those that are being worked on. In B, the road will be worked on in the next phase of roads to be worked on. In C, the estimated cost will be known once the detailed assessment and feasibility studies are done. And in D, plans are there as answered in B above. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Acting Minister of Local Government, the place that we are discussing, and just for the benefit of the people that are following this interaction, we have already started constructing a bridge that will allow a vehicle to cross from Undeke through Mlenga compound to Chamboli. So in terms of the bridge, works have already started. But the question today, Madam Speaker, is focusing on the bituminous standard road. Because once you do a bridge, obviously you want to see that there's a road that has been properly done. And the scope of works cannot be implemented by the local authority. It is only central government, through a project that you have referred to, that would actually be able to provide the connectivity. So, Madam Speaker, my first follow-up question to the Acting Minister of Local Government. Since there is already local effort, we've recognized the need, the bridge is being done to allow a vehicle to cross, would it be prudent that government would immediately provide the resources? Because what is the use of having a bridge if we can't provide a bituminous standard road to cross from Undeke through Mlenga compound going into Chamboli? Madam Speaker, that is my first follow-up question.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, first to appreciate the effort that the local community in Kafisa are doing, particularly in constructing the bridge that will enable and facilitate the construction of the road. Like I indicated, at the moment there's no budget to do the roads in question. I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, yes, I understand that there is no budget, but I think that one of the duties of government is to recognize the need for something to be attended to. And since I made this submission, Madam Speaker, government had an opportunity to have the correct information surrounding this crossing point. The bridge will be ready before the year comes to an end. Clearly, central government, Madam Speaker, knowing my understanding of how government functions, when need has been identified, the list we are supposed to have today is at least an estimated cost. Madam Speaker, that is the list we should have today, so that as we are communicating back to the constituency, people then understand that government actually has even gone a step further to even estimate the cost of the road. So, Madam Speaker, I still want to find out, is there no information at least to even know the cost, so that we then can begin engaging the Ministry of Finance to provide the resources for the road. The bridge will be done. What we need, Acting Minister, is the road. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I quite sympathize with you, Honourable Member of Parliament for Kamfisa, and I think this is a matter that we should take seriously as government. But as we stand, the road under consideration, the budget will be determined after the feasibility study and the bill of quantity is finalized. So those two things have not yet been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, the Honourable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Mulobezi to ask question number 305.
The Honourable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Raphael Mabenga, Member of Parliament from Mulobezi, is asking the Minister of Green Economy and Environment a question in 4 parts as follows. What measures the government is taking to prevent the illegal harvesting of timber in Mulobezi parliamentary constituency? And B, whether the government has any plans to replant trees in the constituency. C, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And D, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. The government, through my ministry, the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, has intensified measures to curb illegal harvesting. Madam Speaker,
Order, Honourable Members. Can we maintain order? Just lower down the consultations so that the proceedings will continue without being disturbed. The Honorable Minister for Green Economy, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and I'll repeat, the government through my ministry has intensified measures to curb illegal harvesting and trade in timber in Mulobezi constituency in the following ways. One, the ministry has strengthened compliance monitoring by increasing forest patrols and conducting joint operations with law enforcement agencies to regulate and control illegal timber harvesting, transportation, and trade. B, the ministry is conducting sensitization and awareness campaigns among local communities and concession holders to highlight the adverse impacts of illegal logging and to promote sustainable forest management practices. Among the key activities is the establishment of 14 community forest management groups, which have set aside 625,981.44 hectares of indigenous forest under community forest management. Number 3, in addition, the ministry has trained 77 honorary forest guards who will be responsible for conducting patrols to reduce illegal cutting of trees in the community forest management areas. This measure is intended to involve communities in addressing deforestation in Mulobezi. Number 4, the ministry is also undertaking a comprehensive forest inventory with partners to determine timber species and gather critical forestry data within the constituency. This exercise, Madam Speaker, is intended to provide an informed basis for sustainable forest management and policy enforcement. The forestry inventory has been planned to be undertaken and concluded in the third quarter of this year. Madam Speaker, under B, the government has plans to undertake replanting and forest restoration activities in Mulobezi constituency in order to re-establish degraded areas that have been affected by timber logging in forests. Working with cooperating partners, the Forestry Department is currently undertaking a forestry inventory in selected districts, including Mulobezi district, to determine timber species composition and generate other critical forestry data. Concurrently, degraded areas are being mapped to guide targeted areas for restoration efforts. To support community-based tree planting in Mulobezi district, the Forestry Department has secured partner funding and allocated resources to local communities to initiate the establishment and management of one central tree nursery with a target of raising at least 10,000 seedlings for the 2026-2027 planting season. Priority, Madam Speaker, will be given to indigenous species to support the restoration of degraded landscapes. C, as stated above, government has plans to undertake replanting and forest restoration activities in Mulobezi constituency to restore degraded areas that have been affected by timber logging in forest. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the answers. But I just want to find out have you ever given licenses in Mlowezi this year, and how many are there? Thank you.
There's an indication for a point of order. What is your point of order, Honorable Member for Chirubi?
Madam Speaker, the point of order is in line with Article 77, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution of Zambia. Yeah. Madam Speaker, ever since we opened Parliament, I have noticed that we have been transacting business. I counted that other day. I don't know who was on the platform. We were 31. The other day, we were 37. Even, hello, can I finish? Even as we speak, we are below the number. I'm not sure. You can confirm on the electronic platform. Madam Speaker, the issue of quorum is a very serious issue. And if you go in Article 60, Parliament is in the hands of the people. And it's the people's representation. Same applies to executive and judiciary. We have been very casual on this particular undertaking, Madam Speaker. I know that I've been part of the illegality that has been committed because sometimes I've just ended up counting. But I think, Madam Speaker, this is unbecoming of this House of the People, that we should be transacting business unconstitutionally, and it is normal. I raise the point of order, Madam Speaker, and I seek your guidance.
The Honorable Member for Chirubi, you didn't have, there was no need for you to debate. When there's no quorum, you just say there's no quorum in the House. However, the presiding officers, they've always been guided by the clerks at the table. When there's no quorum, they will notify us. That's why we don't proceed. We ask for the bells to be rung. And then we proceed when we have a quorum. Even when we came, there was no quorum. We had to wait for the quorum within the required time. So there's also the aspect of timing, Honorable Member for Chirubi. When we don't have a quorum, we don't stop just like that. We have to wait according to the standing orders that we have. At the beginning, we have to wait for 30 minutes. So if within 30 minutes the quorum is not formed, then we adjourn. Even when the proceedings are going on, there's also time that is given to us. We stop, we ring the bells. So now, if there's no quorum, you're just supposed to indicate. Then I was going to consult the clerks at the table. They were going to tell me that there's no quorum. So please, we are following the standing orders. The clerks at the table, do we have the quorum? We have, okay. I'm advised that there's quorum. And mind you, there are people that are virtually, they are attending virtually. We make progress. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You must also migrate if you want. Madam Speaker, the question was whether we've given any licenses this year to Mlowezi. I'll have to seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker, that I check this information so that I give accurate information, which I'll be able to pass to the Honorable Member. I'll check with my team.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mlowezi.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Now, Honorable Minister, the answer that you gave, it appears it's for a long-term plan. Is there anything that we can do now to avoid this rampage cutting of trees? Because the place is being turned into a desert now every day. tons and tons of timber is being ferried from Mlowezi constituency. Is there any urgent matter that we can do now, for now? While waiting for those long-term plans which you have outlined. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Member of Parliament from Lobezi for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, what have the answers I've given cater for both long and short term? One of the short-term measures is that we are reinforcing the patrols to ensure that there's control timber harvesting. So the answer caters for both long-term and short-term. Like I did indicate also, Madam Speaker, we have involved community forest guards to ensure that they also beef up the patrols. So these will, in the short term and long term, assist to control the harvesting of timber. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a constituency-based question. Next question, the Honorable Member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 306.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member, Honorable Chinga Miyutu, asked government whether government is aware that there is a shortage of cassava stem cuttings in Karabo district, and B, if so, what plans the government has put in place to ensure availability of the stem cuttings, especially the early maturing varieties, and C, if there are no such plans, why? Our response, Madam Speaker, is as follows, that yes, government is aware of the shortage of cassava stems cutting in Karabo district, and for B, government has been implementing a cassava multiplication program and capacity building of farmers in the production and management of the cassava value chain since 2024. So far, Madam Speaker, 13 camps, namely Kuli, Seshakano, Mishulundu, Nguma, Namitindi, Uleya, Lukona, Litoma, Mitwi, Sihole, Mapungu, Imilangu, and Ruanginga were provided with cassava stem cuttings under the program. The stems were provided under the program. The stems provided under the programs are all early maturing varieties. As in B above, the plans to ensure availability of stem cuttings are already underway. Madam Speaker, I should thank Honorable Milupi for taking me through these names. That's why I was able to say them very well, to pronounce them very well. I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Karabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that response. Yes, I agree with you. However, my question, the follow-up question is the sustainability of that program for providing the cassava stem stocks. Honorable Minister, the challenge which people faced was that the process of delivering those stocks to the farmers, it took time. So some of those, they were received in almost like in a poor state that they could not, they didn't have life. So how assured are we that that program again will continue? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to assure the Honorable Member that the country is taking a lot of interest, the government is taking a lot of interest in cassava production because almost 30% of our people consume cassava. And I have always said in here, and I'm inviting the Honorable Member, I can take him to IITA. They've got a beautiful multiplication program which the Honorable Member can get involved, give it to the youths so that they can be multiplying good quality planting material so that we cannot be having shortage in that area. Madam Speaker, what we need is to have very good stems which have proper genetic potential, which are disease and pest-free or tolerant. So I'm encouraging any member here to come with me. I take you to IITA. This is a scientific institution which is looking at how to give clean material, planting material, to our farmers in the country. It's a very important issue, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kafue. The Honorable Member for Kafue, are you with us?
Yes, Madam Speaker. The next question.
I'm asking you a question. The question number, Honorable Member for Kafue.
Next. I'm in the house. Yeah. Question 306.
We've just finished that one. The Honorable Member for Kafue, we've just finished question 306.
Next. 307.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 307 by the Honourable Member of Parliament for Kafue. He asked the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development a question in three parts. A, whether the government has any plans to upgrade Kafue Town Council to a municipality. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And in C, what the criteria for granting a town council a municipal council status are. Madam Speaker, in response to the question raised by the Member of Parliament for Kafue, I wish to inform the August House as follows. A, the government has plans to upgrade Kafue Town Council to a municipality. In B, the implementation of any upgrade is performance-based and contingent upon the final outcome of the ongoing assessment. Therefore, the timeline for Kafue depends on its level of compliance with the prescribed criteria, and once the assessment is concluded, a recommendation is approved. In C, the following is the criteria for granting a municipal council status. And number one, the local authority must be designated planning authority. Two, an urban population exceeding 30,000 and a significant population density. Three, availability of an integrated development plan and a council strategic plan and a service charter. Next, established and functional government departments and the President of Judiciary Services. 5, a diversified economic profile and a growing percentage of locally generated revenue. 6, a significant number of properties and an adequate rateable value. 7, functional urban infrastructure providing security, health services, and basic education. 8, presence of tarred roads, street names, traffic lights, and communication towers. 9, established water and wastewater treatment facilities. 10, efficient and sustainable solid waste management system. 11, availability of a general hospital and secondary schools. 12, functional social amenities such as markets, bus stations, and public ablution facilities. 13, public libraries, parks, gardens, defined residential areas. 14, established fire and emergency services. And 15, presence of hotels, lodges, and a sufficient level of financial services. Madam Speaker, in this regard, Kafue Town Council is finalizing the process of being designated as a planning authority in order to acquire the municipality status. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Kafue.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and to the Honourable Minister for that comprehensive response. I just wanted to get clearly again when this assessment is expected to be concluded and when it's started, because we seem to actually meet most of the criteria that he has outlined, and we are in a hurry to see that upgrade. So when is this assessment concluding? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, I do not have the information regarding when the assessment will be concluded. What I may ask is the Honourable Member of Parliament to approach the Minister of Local Government in order to sit down and determine what is the status of the assessment as it stands. I thank you.
Thank you. Next question. By prior arrangement, the question will be asked by the Honourable Member for Chifubu.
Madam Speaker, question 308.
The Honourable Minister of Green Economy and Environment. The Honourable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Mr. Sia Chisumo is asking the Minister of Green Economy and Environment the following question: whether the government has any plans to sell houses under the Zambia Forestry and Forest Industries Corporation, ZAFICO, in Lufwanyama district to sitting tenants. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and C, if there are no plans, why?
Can you lower your consultations? Honourable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our response is as follows. Yes, government, through the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, has plans to sell houses under Zambia Forestry and the Forest Industry Corporation, ZAFICO, in Lufwanyama district to sitting tenants. ZAFICO has a total of 172 housing units in 3 areas within Lufwanyama district, namely Lamba, Tunga, and Mwalushi. One in Lamba area. Lamba area has a total of 106 housing units comprised of 24 3-bedroomed houses and 82 1-bedroomed houses. 2 in Tunga area. Tunga area has a total of 43 housing units comprised of 2 3-bedroomed houses and 41 1-bedroomed houses. In the Mwelushi area has a total of 23 housing units comprised of 2 3-bedroomed houses and 21 1-bedroomed houses. Madam Speaker, under B, the plan to sell the houses in Lufwanyama district to sitting tenants started in June 2011, when the Government Evaluation Department of Kitwe District assessed the housing units. The findings of the assessment were as follows. In the Lamba area, one, a 3-bedroomed house was worth 6,200 kwacha, and two, a 1-bedroomed house was worth 2,300 kwacha. In Tunga area, one, a 3-bedroomed house was valued at 2,900 kwacha, and two, a 1-bedroomed house was valued at 1,300 kwacha. In the Mwelushi area, Madam Speaker, the findings were that one, the 3-bedroomed house was at a cost of 5,000 kwacha. Then two, a 1-bedroomed house was at a cost of 1,800 kwacha. So far, details of the sitting tenants have been submitted to the Ministry of Lands. They are waiting for provisional numbering of the housing units. Once the housing units are numbered, Madam Speaker, they will be given offer letters. So the sitting tenants will be given offer letters. Madam Speaker, the government remains committed to ensuring that the sitting tenants buy the houses they are occupying and stands ready to support the whole process. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chifugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, we want to appreciate and acknowledge the resounding commitment of government to sell the houses to the sitting tenant. But I want to find out when exactly, because you said the process started in 2011, and today we are talking of almost 13 years. Would you specify maybe a month or date when these sitting tenants will wear a smile on their face? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to also thank the Member of Parliament for the follow-up question. Madam Speaker, I'm not able to specify or to give the timelines. Like I did indicate, there's a process ongoing now to have the properties numbered, and as soon as that is done, the offer letters will be issued. So it would be wrong for me to give some timelines when the numbering is being done in a different ministry. So once that is done, we should be able to issue the offer letters. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Minister. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for the government gesture to think of those sitting tenants to buy the said houses. Honorable Minister, 2011 is when the government did the evaluation of these properties, and the prices that you have given out were based on the 2011 evaluation report. Kindly confirm if there will be no need for fresh evaluation for these houses, looking at the period that has elapsed, almost 13 years, as the Honorable Member for Chifugu has said. These houses could have gone a further dilapidation, and the evaluation would just be a fair thing to do so that we know the exact cost of these houses. Kindly confirm if the government will go ahead with the 2011 evaluation cost, or indeed they are considering to do another evaluation. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Madam Speaker, for now, we are basing the figures on the evaluation that was done in 2011. Should there be need to have a re-evaluation, we'll be able to cross the bridge when we get there. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chifugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, for the sake of the people of Lufwanyama, who are currently listening and remain expectant and very optimistic over this critical issue, you have clearly stated that the government made a decision to sell the houses to the sitting tenants. Now, following the transitioning of Zafico now into a public limited company, are these assets under government or under Zafico? Because the tenants continue to suffer interferences from the management of Zafico, despite you stating here that the government has a hand on this and intends to sell the houses. Are they still under Zafeco after transitioning into a public limited company? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Madam Speaker, on the actual ownership, I will have to check. But like I've indicated, I think what is key here is that as government, we've indicated that an evaluation was done. And I think what was key in that question was, are we selling the houses? And we've said we are committed to sell the houses. So in terms of who is interfering, whether Zafeco is interfering, I think this is something I would engage with the honorable member to see how we can resolve that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the honorable member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this privilege. Question 309.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Nyimba, Honorable Menyan Zulu, is asking me, as Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, the following three questions. A, when the government will rehabilitate the Great East Road, which is in a deplorable state, from Kenneth Kaunda International Airport turnoff to Luanga Bridge. B, what the estimated cost of the project is. And C, what the estimated time frame for the completion of the project is. We answer as follows. The question A, the government has plans to rehabilitate the Great East Road, which is actually T4, from Kenneth Kaunda International Airport turnoff to Luango Bridge, and the plans will be implemented once funds are secured. B, the government is in the process of hiring a consulting firm to undertake a feasibility study from Kenneth Kaunda International Airport to Chongwe, after which a cost estimate for the rehabilitation of the works shall be known. Answer to C, as stated in B above, studies on the Great East Road T4 are currently ongoing, and therefore the time frame for the rehabilitation shall be known once the studies have been concluded. Madam Speaker, for now, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, you agree with me on the status of Great East Road because you've driven there, especially from Chongwe Web Bridge to Ruangwa Bridge. Minister, if you recall, early when you are appointed as the Minister of Infrastructure, you promised us that the road will be done before 2026. That is the reason why I'm asking this question. Looking at the plan you've come with, the PP project setup, are you having any plans to look for cooperating partners or equity partners who can help us rehabilitate the road? Because the damage on the vehicles on that road, it's beyond people with the little or no enough income to repair their vehicles. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for Nyimba for the follow-up question. It gives me an opportunity to give perhaps a more detailed answer, because we are, as government, are aware of the state of the road. Also, in fact, the state of the bridge across the Luangwa River. The government of the Republic of Zambia, through the ministry, my ministry, is implementing what is called the World Bank-funded transport corridors for economic resilience, This is what is referred to as tracer project. Through the tracer, a consultant was engaged to conduct studies on the Great East Road from Chongwe to Luangwa Bridge. The project involves two studies on the Great East Road, which is T4, from Lusaka to Luangwa Bridge. The first one is a feasibility study, solicitation document, preparation, transaction advisor, and design review for the upgrading to dual carriageway of 45 kilometers of the Great East Road from Lusaka Junction to Kenneth Kaunda International Airport to Chongwe under a public-private partnership model. So the first 45 kilometers up to Chongwe, we want to Chongwe to Luangwa Bridge in Lusaka, are currently ongoing. While, of course, the studies for the dualization of the 45 kilometers from Lusaka to Chongwe will commence after approvals and concluding discussions on technical documents such as the terms of reference with the World Bank. This is what we are doing with the World Bank. The rehabilitation works for the Great East Road from the Kenneth Kaunda Airport turnoff to Luangwa Bridge will commence once GRZ secures funds either from the Treasury or from cooperating partners or indeed from the private sector through PPP model. Now, indicative costs are that dualing the 45-kilometer section from Lusaka to Chongwe will cost approximately $65.5 million. Of course, this can come down, just a very rough estimate. And the rehabilitation of the 190 kilometers from Chongwe to Luangwa Bridge, we estimate the cost at about $132.3 million, with the probable time completion of works expected to be within 24 to 36 months after commencement. The anticipated scope of works will be known once the services are concluded, and tentatively these will include A, dualing of 45 kilometers of Lusaka to Chongwe, and the rehabilitation of about 190 kilometers Chongwe to Luangwa Bridge. It will include clearing and grubbing, and of course pavement layer works and asphalt surfacing, including drainages and other ancillary works. So we have not forgotten, Honorable Menyani. We are progressing with this project. The World Bank has released some money. That is what is being used for these initial studies. And we certainly hope that when that is completed, we will then follow up on the probable path that I have stipulated. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, I know you've answered some of the questions I wanted. Another question I wanted to ask you.
Order, honorable members. On my left, the laughters are too loud. The focusing also is too loud.
Madam Speaker, I'm just worried because the same member of parliament who is making a lot of noise is always complaining about this road. Exactly. And today is the one who is making noise. Instead of concentrating to hear what the minister is answering, I'm shocked. Minister, I know you believe, we all believe that you'll be coming back after 13th August. And since you are coming back after 13th August, Minister, can you assure the people of Chongwe, Lufunsa, and the Eastern Province, even the whole country at large, that what you have asked and what you have answered today, Minister, this thing will come to flourish so that the people of Zambia will be happy using the Great East Road. Minister, my question now, the last question is, when you say you're going to construct a dual carriageway from the junction, you didn't specify which junction. Is it the airport junction, or is it the Munari junction? You're going to construct a dual carriageway from which junction to where? Are we going to end up at Chongwe, or surpass Chongwe up to maybe Chongwe Way Bridge? You didn't specify where the 45-kilometer is starting from, because we know from the airport turnoff to Chongwe is 30 kilometers. So where exactly is the 45? Don't be surprised, Minister, I drive in that road. Even tomorrow I'll be driving that road. So where is the 45-kilometer is ending? We need to know that, because the people of Chongwe and the Eastern Province will appreciate when you tell us where the road, the dual carriageway is going to end. In addition to that, as you're answering that question, what is the status of the bridge?
Honorable Member for Nyimba, you are only allowed to answer to ask 2 questions. It's like each question is.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, it's the same question.
What is your question?
The question is, where are we ending with our 45-kilometer stretch a dual carriageway? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I'm thankful again for the follow-up question and for the good things he has said, and for the knowledge that indeed this government is coming back. There are very few people who have that foresight on those benches, but clearly you can see the writing on the wall. I thank him. And MPs like that, we should also come back in the next parliament. Then this country will make. Madam Speaker, the answers to his questions as follows. Where is the road starting? It's essentially at the roundabout, the airport roundabout. I think that is definitive. And if you measure 45 kilometers, you'll find that it goes to where the Boma is, or the district headquarters is. In those days, those of us who were around at the time, we knew that the distance from Lusaka to Chongwe was 30 miles. So roughly, that is that distance that we have specified in this. And definitely, in the next session, the next term, this road is going to be attended to. What we are doing now is doing the preliminary work, do the studies funded by the World Bank. It's not the only road that was being funded. The World Bank released some money, I think about $270 million. Part of that is what we used, is what we are going to use on the Serenje and Pika Road for rehabilitation. Part of that is what we are using on the upgrading of the Nakonde border post. Part of that is what was offered to do these studies on the Great East Road up to Luangwa. Part of that is also what was offered to do the studies on the Sisheke Road, Livingston-Sisheke Road. So by the time we come back, these studies will have been complete, and we shall ensure that this gets done. After all, the road in question is part of the Nakala corridor, and that includes the bridge on the across the Luangwa River there. The opening up of these corridors is a serious policy direction of this government. And that is why right now we are seriously discussing the Lobito corridor. And that is why we are also seriously putting into place the Wolves Bay corridor, or the North-South corridor. Zambia, according to the president, has to grow the economy exponentially. In order to do that, we have to have markets outside Zambia, because our own internal market with 20 million people is small. So we have identified our neighbors as potential markets, but in order to actualize those markets, we have to have these connecting roads, railway lines, and so on. That is why we are saying the Nakala corridor is important for that, but also it is important to bring in imports from other places, especially from Mozambique. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It's indeed very good to listen to a minister who is able to articulate matters underhand very well. Minister, we thank you for that. And Minister, we appreciate what government is doing with regards to alternative financing of roads, like the involvement of the PPP model to finance road construction and maintenance. We really appreciate. However, Minister, being one of the members of Parliament who come from Eastern Province, indeed, it's a menace to travel between Chongwe and the Ruanga Bridge, especially for those of us who travel in the night. It's really hell to travel on this particular section of the road. This makes me to think and ask the following question to you, Honorable Minister. Minister, does it mean that as government, we don't have a maintenance policy with regards to main trunk and the other form of roads? Because why should we allow a road to dilapidate beyond its design life before we start talking about putting up interventions to remedy the distress that these roads have experienced? Why can't we have a deliberate road maintenance policy? Because we know the design life. Minister, you and I know very well that any road has got a design life. Why don't we have in place a proper maintenance policy to ensure that we remedy some of these failures prior to the road failing completely? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the Honorable Member for Chadiza, Honorable Jonathan Tucker, raises some very important points. And this is an indictment to the various previous governments in terms of the road sector maintenance. In the past, the Honorable Jonathan Tucker will bear witness to the fact that in every province there were what are called road camps to carry out maintenance on roads. But over the years, this fell by the wayside. So there was no deliberate effort to ensure that these roads are maintained. So government put up a new road and basically waited until it completely disintegrated. And then there was pressure again to completely rehabilitate. In other words, dig it up and they start all over the place. When the New Dawn government came in, we recognized that this was not right. You have noticed that even the RDA managers in provinces, those that were called managers, they are engineers, qualified engineers, like himself, like myself. And so we have had to change the nomenclature. They are now road engineers, regional road engineers, to emphasize that yes, management is good, but their role is to carry out engineering work. We have also stated that every province must have a proper maintenance truck. You know the trucks that carry the asphalts, carry all sorts of things, and so on. So that when they carry out maintenance, it is done properly. Even a pothole is done properly. At the moment, you find 15 people with shovels, they're digging, they're putting this and so on. That is not how these things are getting done. But you have to bear with us. To take things back to normal takes a bit of time. But you are right, Honorable Daka. That is the intention of government. Every engineering product, including cars and indeed a road, there are various costs associated with that engineering product. The first one is the capital cost. What it costs you to buy it or to put it in place. Then there is operations cost. Then there is maintenance cost. You have to factor that in order for that engineering product to last the designed life of that product. The same happens with roads. If we do that, there are various stages at which engineers will tell you, now we need to resurface, now we need to do this. They look at the thicknesses of the wearing surface and so on. This has not been done in the past. This government is determined to ensure that this gets done going forward. Then, the money that we put in capital projects, you'll see that with the PPP roads, this will be done. Even with the roads that we government do now, that will also be done. You'll see they will last much longer and they will be a lot more comfortable to ride on. But it will take time to correct that which has gone wrong over many years and spanning various governments. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'll take the last two, the Honorable Member for Kwacha and the Honorable Member for Kaumbwe. The Honorable Member for Kwacha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity given. Honorable Minister, when you look at the distance on this stretch of road from Lusaka to Chipata, we are talking of maybe twice the distance between Ndola and the Lusaka. So obviously, cost implications, the road will be quite expensive. Are you considering putting up maybe a toll gate, 1 or 2 along the road so that recovery process can be enhanced? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, in summary.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kaumbwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. The current road section that we are talking about, Minister, as you have stated, it is very, very, very important road. This road falls under the Nakala corridor, and with the opening of the 24-hour economy, traffic volumes have increased, and the road dilapidation has obviously increased on the same stretch. Currently at kilometer 268, somewhere there, the culvert is damaged, and there's no proper diversion. And on the same stretch, Road T4, there was a disaster that happened thanks to ZNS for quick action. My question is, looking at the current studies that are ongoing for the 190 kilometers from Chongwe to Luongo Bridge, are you harmonizing the designs to form a complete Nakala corridor project? That is the study from Luongo Bridge, from Chongwe to Luongo Bridge, also Katete to Chanida Road, because that makes a complete Nakala corridor. Are you harmonizing these studies such that the implementation of these projects will form a complete Nakala corridor project? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Mwanza, this is what we are doing. Just a little bit more information. We have already talked about Lusaka to Luangwa. You have brought in now Kateto to Chanida. That is already under a PPP. There is a concessionaire working on that particular road, 55 kilometers. That will be done to international standards. And continued maintenance on Luangwa all the way to Mwami border will ensure that this corridor is contributing to the economy of this country as it was designed to be. Thank you.
Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House now adjourns.
As no notice of an item for debate on the motion of adjournment of the House has been received, I put the question. The question is that the House now adjourns. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Television, the House has adjourned till tomorrow at 14:30. But before we leave, a recap of business that has been considered on the floor of the House when business resumed at 14:30.
Madam First Deputy Speaker did make two announcements. She did recognize the presence of teachers and pupils from St. John's Convent School in Kito District and Mopani Copper Mines School that's based on the Copper Belt. And so on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, the First Deputy Speaker warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
After those announcements, the House did proceed to consider 7 questions that were on today's order paper. And the first question came from Mr. Chinga Miyutu, Kalabo Central Member of Parliament, directing his question to the Minister of Education. The member wanted to establish how many students were awarded loans and scholarships by the Higher Education Loans and Scholarships Board from 2023 to 2025 year by year. And the minister did begin by saying that in 2022, a total number of 24,483 students were awarded, and in 2023, total number of 28,016 students were awarded. In 2024, 37,094 students were awarded, and in 2025, 46,532 students were awarded. And from the number which 3 provinces and districts had the highest number of students awarded loans and scholarship year by year, according to the minister's response, towards Copperbelt, Lusaka, and southern provinces. And he did say that this is due to the high number of colleges and, should I say, secondary schools in that particular area, and also the interest by students applying for these loans. And by district, the minister did say that it was Lusaka, Kitwe, and Ndola district, and whether there are any plans to decentralize the selection of beneficiaries to the district level. The minister said that yes, plans are underway at district level, but it will only be possible after 2027.
Question 306 did come from Mr. Miyutu of Kalabo Central Constituency. He did ask the Minister of Agriculture a question in 3 parts, whether the government is aware that there is a shortage of cassava stem cuttings for planting in Kalabo district. And in response, the Minister did say that government is aware of this situation. And in the B part of the question, Mr. Miyutu wanted to find out what the plans government has put in place to ensure availability of the stem cuttings, especially the early maturing varieties. And in response, the minister did say that government has been implementing capacity building programs that ensure the availability of the stems cutting. That's question 306.
Question 309 came from Mr. Menyanizulu Nyimba, Member of Parliament, directed his question to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. The member wanted to find out when the government will rehabilitate the Great East Road, which is in a deplorable state, from Kenneth Kaunda International Airport turn-off to Luangwa Bridge. And the minister's response was that once the government secures funding through PPA's model and what the estimated cost of the project is, and the minister was saying that it's about $132.3 million, and what the estimated time frame for the completion of the project is 24 to 36 months.
Question 307 did come from Ms. Chonya of Kafir constituency. She did ask the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development whether the government has any plans to upgrade Kafue Town Council into a municipality. And the acting Minister of Rural Development did actually say that government does have plans to upgrade Kafue Town Council into a municipality. In the other part of the question, Ms. Chonya wanted to find out when the plans will be implemented, and the minister did say that implementation is performance-based. And so once assessment is concluded regarding the Kafue Town Council, once assessment is concluded regarding the town council, then Kafue Town Council can be upgraded. In the other part of the question, Ms. Chonya wanted to find out what criteria for granting a town council into a municipality status. He did highlight quite a number of criteria, including that the town council should have street lights, hotels, lodges, and that the local authority must be a designated planning authority. That's question 307 that was asked by the Kafue lawmaker.
The second question that came from the people of Kalabo Central through their representative, Honorable Chinga Miyutu. It was directed to the Minister of Agriculture. The member wanted to find out whether the government is aware that there is a shortage of cassava stem cuttings for planting in Kalabo district, and the minister said that some areas have been supplied with cassava stem cuttings, and if so, when the plans the government has put in place to ensure availability of the stem cutting, especially the early maturing varieties. And the minister did say that the plans are still underway, and those are some of the questions that appeared on today's order paper.
Question 308 did come from Mr. Siajisumo of Lufwanyama. He did ask the Minister of Green Economy and Environment whether the government has any plans to sell houses under the Zambia Forestry and Forest Industries Corporation, ZAFICO, in Lufwanyama district to sitting tenants. And the minister did say that government has plans to sell these houses to the sitting tenants. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why? So the minister in response did say that plans actually started in June 2011, and that properties for these sitting tenants actually need to be numbered. Once that is done, the sitting tenants will be given offer letters. And so that's question 308 that was asked by Lufwanyama Member of Parliament, Mr. Siajisumo.
So that's what has been considered on today's order paper. I'd like to say thank you so much for your time, and on behalf of our two sign language interpreters, that's Jason Manda and Chola Kaumanidi, not forgetting Claudette Jonga. My name is Paul Sentin. I'll be back tomorrow at 14:30, but do remember that we'll have committees in the morning at 09:30 hours. We do have quite a number of committees that are sitting considering different bills. Thank you so much for your time, and be safe.
Weeks after the official launch of the Institute for Parliamentary Studies and Training, a new chapter in leadership development is already taking shape. Prospective parliamentarians from diverse backgrounds gathered with a shared purpose to prepare themselves for the responsibilities of public service and national leadership. The Prospective Parliamentarians Training, organized by the Institute for Parliamentary Studies and Training, in collaboration with the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue, marked a significant step towards strengthening democratic governance by equipping future leaders with the knowledge, skills and values required to serve effectively in Parliament. During the official opening of the training, National Assembly of Zambia Acting Deputy Clerk Administration, Mr. Sage Samwika, said that the program was aimed at strengthening democratic governance and underscored the institution's commitment to equipping prospective parliamentarians with the knowledge, skills and ethical foundation needed to uphold democratic principles.
Parliament plays a critical role in our democracy through lawmaking, oversight and representation. However, the effectiveness of Parliament depends largely on the preparedness, integrity and the competence of those that serve within it. So therefore, this is the reason why we have arranged this training for the aspiring members of Parliament. Allow me to commend the Institute for Parliamentary Studies and Training and the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue for organizing this program. It reflects a strong commitment to strengthening democratic governance and promoting informed participation in parliamentary processes. I've perused through your program and I must say that it's quite detailed, and it is our sincere hope that you'll be able to engage actively. Please ask as many questions as possible so that you take full advantage of the resource persons that have been identified to run you through this program. Let me also mention that it's a full-day program, and at the end of the program, you'll be given a certificate, which will be able to, add to your CV. And we wish you every success, even as you aspire, and much more as you aspire for public office. I think the key ingredients of integrity are very important, even as we go through this process.
Participants were taken through a series of presentations designed to build a solid foundation in parliamentary knowledge and practice. The first session was delivered by Mr. Tenson Nyangu, Head, Institute for Parliamentary Studies and Training, who provided an in-depth presentation on understanding Parliament, its role, mandate, and constitutional responsibilities.
What the role of the MP is legally. What is a member of Parliament required to do under the Constitution? Article 62 says there is established the Parliament of Zambia, which shall consist of the President and the National Assembly. The legislative authority of the Republic is vested in and exercised by Parliament. A person or body other than Parliament shall not have power to enact legislation except as conferred by this Constitution. So basically what this provision is saying is that Parliament is supreme when it comes to lawmaking. No other body other than Parliament can legally make laws, except if the Constitution confers that power on a subordinate authority. Legislature, make laws. Executive, enforce them. And this is why we have law enforcement agencies under the executive. Enforce the laws that are made by the legislature. Judiciary, check these laws. Because one of the things that is common or likely to happen is that the legislature may pass laws that infringe on the rights of citizens. And the executive will enforce them. So the judiciary must come in and say, no, this law contravenes the framework which the people gave. So we are quashing it. And so these three branches check on each other's powers. And that is why we have that setup. Now, when it comes to the role of members of parliament or the National Assembly, again, I read basically two that are reflected in the Constitution. It says, Parliament shall enact legislation through bills. So the primary role of Parliament is to legislate. In other words, make laws.
This was followed by a presentation by Mr. Charles Hambote, National Assembly of Zambia Director Social Committees, who highlighted the work of a Member of Parliament. In his presentation, Mr. Charles Hambote provided practical insights into the day-to-day responsibilities of a Member of Parliament, emphasizing that the role extends far beyond attending parliamentary sittings.
Parliament is the sole body that has been given the power to pass legislation. No other person, no other body can pass legislation apart from Parliament.